We're here with the wonderful Ayanna. We bring you movers and shakers of the globe.
Now. It's back to her. I'm a fan.
And we have rapport, guys.
I've gone global.
Like you fail at CrossFit, you haven't lifted the ball that high.
Okay. That was such a slow payoff, but no problem.
I quite understand. I love the rapport that you guys have.
And it sounds like you've always loved movies.
Good stories will travel.
Yes, we're reaching.
We're super excited for that.
That's all.
Hello, everyone.
Yay.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of the amazing, awesome Inkblot meet and greet. I was going to go with a third A, but I couldn't think of a third
Alliteration
one.
is not your friend.
Well, yes, I know, right? So I would try and rhyme, but I would stop. So, so we're here with the wonderful Ayanna.
Alliteration.
You see, I was going somewhere of Amazon. You see, that's why you see.
Okay. That was such a slow payoff, but no problem.
You see, that's why delayed gratification is an actual thing.
Right.
So normally we go around and we play around before we introduce. But you see, I was doing the whole A thing to get to her name, which is an A. In the company where she works is an A.
Yes.
My middle name starts with A.
Oh, really?
See? Yes.
Wow, research, you failed us. That's on you.
Actually, that's on me. Actually.
Yes, shame. Go to the naughty corner.
I'm already in the corner. I don't understand. Anyways, nice to meet you. Introduce properly, Mr. Man.
No, but I was enjoying my alliteration thing.
No,
okay, yes.
no.
So we are here with Ayanna. This is what we do for you, our viewers, right? We bring you movers and shakers of the globe.
Now. It's back to her.
No, I'm saying of the global film industry, who, are august personalities in their own rights. So Ayanna is the current director and head of worldwide major studio licensing. Is that correct?
It's a mouthful. Even I forget sometimes.
Yes. Research pass. Well done, Damola.
Thank you. Now, I would like to highlight that they said major studio licensing. So technically, Inkblot is a major studio.
Are you really?
I have to bring it back to us. Marketing. You also have to sell yourself. So yes.
Guys, we have Ayanna Lonian with us, and we're super excited to have you here.
I am very happy to be here.
Yay!
Thank you
when
very
she first
much.
told us that she watches our podcast, I was shy.
That kind of thing. I was like, hi, hey, we've made so many mistakes in this
Do you
podcast.
understand? I was
Why?
like, we should take this thing more seriously.
You know that kind of thing.
You have a global audience. I watch your podcast from Los Angeles like every week.
No pressure.
Oh, you have a global audience of one, at least of one.
Yes.
I'm
so now you have one person that say watch from America?
Yes.
Now we know.
Now I'm getting an agent. I've gone global, please. You guys can't just talk to me anyhow anymore. I need security around me when I'm in public. I don't care about these two. They're fine.
Thanks. So why did you say yes?
Yes.
Because I love your podcast.
Oh, wow.
I'm not joking. I watch it from Los Angeles. I am that one viewer you have.
Yes.
But maybe one day you'll have two from the US. Awesome. But no, I learn a lot about movers and shakers. I see other actors, actresses, people in the Nollywood industry, and I quite understand. I love the rapport that you guys have. So I watch it every week. I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you. And we have rapport, guys.
Yes, so we have rapport. I'm going to just frame this episode on my wall where it's just going to be there, playing on a loop every single time. Whenever, play.
When you need affirmation.
Yeah, so when I need any kind of affirmation.
Like you fail at CrossFit, you haven't lifted the ball that high, and then you come back and then you watch it and then you feel good about yourself. You drop in the rankings from 10 to 15, those types of things.
At least I won't.
But if I can help in those moments of time, if I uplift you, then that's a good thing.
Yes.
See. Silver lining, not like you, dark cloud of gloom.
But I was giving you a way to get yourself back.
No, you're just a dark cloud of doom and gloom.
I'm looking out for you.
Mental.
Exactly.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm now hurt. But anyway, yes. So talk to us. So how does somebody get to do this? Like, do you wake up at 5 years old and say, I want to be the director and head of worldwide global...
Major.
No, worldwide major studio global licensing.
There's no global.
Yeah, thank you. I guess, but truthfully, I think the answer is well, speaking for myself, the answer I think is inevitably no, because when I was 5 years old, services like Amazon Prime Video didn't even exist, right? I remember when I was at home, probably 5 or 6, and I remember the day my father came home with like a cable box And I was like so amazed. We were like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's cable. You can get HBO in the US. So this was a long time ago. And it was just like amazing to me. So short answer is no. When I was young, the job I have today literally didn't exist. But my hope is that for young 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or young girls or boys today, these types of jobs will exist in the future and they'll pursue them.
But then it sounds like you've always loved movies.
Or media.
I've always loved media. Okay. I would say I've always loved media, and I don't know. Again, my career evolved over time in different ways, but I always loved media. And so when I was it was probably my second year of college when the internet was just taking off and media existed, and like things like digital downloads on iTunes existed, and then you had this intersection of like tech and media. Around that time, I knew I wanted to work in that space, but I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do because I often have thought of myself as like a business person, and it wasn't quite clear to me early in my career where somebody who was a business person fit in the world of media.
Okay. And so what was the first step to figuring out? So what was the first thing you did that said, okay, this is business, but media, that means that I can do that?
It was a series of steps.
Okay.
So it was a series of steps. So when I graduated from college and I knew I kind of wanted, or really it was business school, I knew I wanted to stay in media. It was more about, talking to people and saying, hey, here's my background. Here's, the places I have worked or the things I have studied, and where do I fit within the context of this company or this aspect of media. So I was living in the US at the time. I went to business school in Chicago, and I was graduating, and I knew, I thought of the world of media differently at that time. I thought of like East Coast media versus West Coast media, right? I thought of West Coast, creative, all these studios, producers on the West Coast, and I thought of like the business side of media on the East Coast. And at the time, I was kind of terrified of the West Coast because I'm from Oklahoma, and California just seemed really big and far away. And I was like, oh, I can't, that's very far. And so I kind of focused on the East Coast, and then it was just talking to different people and trying to figure out like, where does somebody with my background, where can I fit within the context of these companies?
So basically you forged your path. There was no one to look to that, looked like what you might want to be. You kind of just started working and, felt your way through.
I did. I had the benefit of like mentors who gave me advice at different points when I was at different crossroads. Should I take this job or that job, or how do I think about opportunities? But it was very much me to sort of like finding out those opportunities and making like incremental steps that I thought made sense to me at the time. But there wasn't. I honestly can't say there was one single person who was like charting the path that I was following. Yeah. I was sort of forging my own path as I went.
So did that mean having to work with? Cause looking at your record, does that mean having to work with like different companies, different media companies, for example? Because I know that you worked with Disney, you worked with ESPN. So pretty much like, how did those companies shape you?
It was all like kind of an incremental process. So I graduated from coming out of business school, and I didn't have a job. And at least in the U.S., at least at the point in time when I was going to business schools, like the majority of folks in my class, they either went to Wall Street, they were going to be bankers, or they were going to go work for companies like McKinsey and Bain and be
BCG.
Yep, consultants. Yeah, or for the school I went to, they specialized in marketing. Okay. So I was kind of like this outlier. There were only like a small handful of us. So like, yeah, we're going to do something in media. So in my case, like when I was coming out of my second year of business school, I kind of, again, I was focused on the East Coast, and I was focused just on like companies that had good cultures that I thought would resonate with me personally, and ended up taking my first job on the corporate strategy and corporate M&A group at the New York Times Company. Okay. And it was very incremental because I'd had all this kind of media, I had some product experience, but I didn't have like financial transactional experience. And so it was very interesting to me to build on that. And then I was there for a while, and then like ESPN, Disney, it always had this culture that was known for being very entrepreneurial and go, 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 go. And people told me at the time, if you want to work in content distribution anywhere in the US, you worked for the Walt Disney Company. Yes. And then they said, if you work in the Walt Disney Company, you go work in ESPN and their affiliate sales group, because they're just known for big deals and all sorts of exciting stuff. So
what's affiliate sales?
I said the same thing. I was at the New York Times Company, and my friend, she sent me this job, description, and she said, hey, these folks at the ESPN affiliate sales group are looking for somebody to do strategy. And I said the same exact thing. I said, what is affiliate sales? And so I had to take a day off from work, because I had to call in sick, because I was going to go do for interview. And then, of course, I had to rent a car in New York, the car rental place was right across the office from my job at the New York Times Company.
my goodness.
So that was awkward. So then I had to sneak in, drive a rental car, and I drove all the way out to like Connecticut. There's a building that looked like a warehouse to meet with the affiliate sales people. But the affiliate sales group, effectively what that means is that was like content distribution to like B2B distributors of content. So like in the US, if you watch ESPN or Disney Channel, you're watching that through like a cable company or a pay TV company, or if you're buying something on iTunes or even consuming something on Amazon Prime. So this was like the B2B sales group that was responsible for selling the rights to distribute Disney content. But anyway, to bring it full circle, so I when I left the New York Times Company to go to ESPN, is because I wanted to get like sales negotiation experience. And then years later, when I left ESPN to join Amazon, it was because I was going to get like international content distribution. So there were always these very specific things that I wanted out of each job that I took. So over time they've built up, but it wasn't like part of some master plan.
So one of the things that like international, so I guess looking from where we sit, I mean, we're international. I mean, you know how you think you're local, but in the eyes of the broader media, we're the international segment of media. So like seeing that cross-pollination of international media, how do you see that sitting on your side of the world? If that question made sense.
I don't think it made sense.
So what I mean is that, like, so from Nigeria, right, when we say our content is going global, that is internationalization out, right? Yeah. But from the US, the US has always been going global. But what does internationalization mean from a US perspective as that content is coming?
Yeah, taking content from across
so like,
the
what
world.
Does that feel like? How does that decision matrix look like from that side of the world?
Oh, I think I see. I would say like it's a multi-pronged decision making, and maybe if I only like Amazon Prime Video, we operate on a global basis, right? So there's always going to be some lens that we have that is thinking like local and thinking like global. But if I understand your question, I think you're asking like, if we were to acquire Nollywood content for our service outside of sub-Saharan Africa, outside of Nigeria, how do we think about that?
Yes.
How do we think about the importance of that? So at its highest level, I mean, we look for content and we strive to identify content that will we use the word delight very deliberately, because that's how we think about it. Like content that will delight our customers either within the region, so in this case, Nigeria, but also outside of Nigeria. So for us, it's always about, and I guess I would say the logic or the decision making that sort of drives our decisions on like what to acquire for any given part of the world is at its highest level, like what content do we think will delight our customers within that part of the world. So there are different ways that we may go about sort of assessing that demand for a particular type of content, whether it's like Nollywood content or Bollywood content or telenovelas or Japanese anime or what have you. But we're always thinking about, our lens is always a little bit from the customer first, and how can we delight customers and what is the demand for that type of content in that part of the world.
Okay. Speaking of content, I know you watch a lot of Nollywood movies.
You have to, right?
Which is your favorite? And you need to answer carefully.
No, your favorite that we made. Let me help you. Your favorite that we made.
No. Zulu. I think Zulu phrased it properly, right? Yeah. Which is your favorite? And answer,
And why is it an Inkblot film?
Yes. And why is it an Inkblot film? Yes.
Let me think. I mean, what is my favorite? I watch about like 10 to 15 Nollywood movies a week, by the way, so I watch quite a bit. I think my favorite Inkblot film, or one of my favorites overall, I would have to say, I think I like The Setup.
Oh. Okay.
I also like Up North.
Okay.
Of course, there's Wedding Party 1, Wedding Party 2.
Yay, Wedding Party 2 stands in the house. All three of us. Yes.
Yeah, the only one. You alone.
I mean, I'm excited about Wedding Party, right?
I liked Moms at War too.
Moms at War, yes.
For different reasons. I thought I was expecting that to end. I mean, I love the direction, the relationship between the two female protagonists. You guys evolved that in a way that just was inspiring and delightful. So I like all of them for different reasons. I think right now I really was intrigued with like The Setup, because I love the plot twist. I thought for the cast, many of whom I follow, but different different roles, different dynamics. But yeah, those are I think my favorites.
Okay.
Yes. Great. Yeah, we're very proud of The Setup.
And I believe that it's actually your favorite Nollywood film.
It is.
Yes. It's not just because it's Inkblot and you're an Inkblot Meet and greet.
we don't have favorite films, but the setup is near and dear to our hearts. It's near and dear just because, like, so there are films like that where, so like in Hollywood, they call them my goodbye to the industry, even though we are not saying goodbye to the industry. It was just can we actually pull this off?
Yeah.
Because the film that inspired us to make the setup is a film called The Handmaiding, which actually you guys bought on your service by Pan Chung Wook. I think that's his name.
It's a Korean movie.
Yes, it's a Korean movie. And I saw it at TIFF and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could make something like that? Just because I was like, it's a big budget, it's lush, but it basically takes bold like chances and it pushes the envelope. Like, yeah, why not? Like, I mean, the question is why can't you take that chance? And so the last time we did something like that was Arbitration, I guess, where we said, you know what, let's make a legal drama, but do this version of it. So the setup is...
Should we tell her the story? I'll tell you the story.
No, please, because I often wonder, like, where your ideas come from, right? Like,
No. I mean, that was Naz's idea after watching Handmaid's Tale. But I want to tell you about the setup and how we had a traumatic experience. So we were actually talking to a major studio in the US for that film.
Okay.
And then it happens that the studio head was in a sex scandal.
Wow, Zulu. I didn't think that was where we're going.
Was in a sex scandal with some young lady, and so he had to step down, and the deal was off. I just said I'll put this out there that, we sitting here in Nigeria making a film and, trying to market it out there, push it out there, and, some sex scandal stops our dreams.
Basically just wrecks it. And then we
It's
say,
like
okay,
a
fine.
train wreck.
Let's put it in cinemas. And it's weird where people see the movie and we always get random responses about it. So people are always like, oh, I really like it. Some Nigerians will go, but why was the movie so difficult? Yeah. And then some other people are like, oh, I love it. All the twists and turns made me pay attention. So it's polarizing on some level. And I really like that. And it's really great. And I remember the first time I saw it Nazi did screening for us at the house.
Yeah, it was a rough cut too. It was a rough cut too. Damola left in anger at a rough cut.
Damola stormed off.
Yes,
Why?
like you people
Why?
have... Yes.
Oh, no, it was a mess.
It wasn't
The first cut.
Mess is a strong word.
Yes.
So
The
it
first cut
needed
was
a lot
a
of
mess.
work after the
needed
first
a lot
cut.
of
It needed a lot of work because it worked. So the first cut was an assembly of the script, and the problem was that people got lost because you didn't know who you were following. You didn't know like all the folds that worked, all the folds back on itself.
there's a lot of flashbacks,
Yes,
right? There's a
exactly.
lot of,
Yeah, so all of that worked in the
first cut
script.
was pretty much chronological.
Yes, with a few flashbacks, but we didn't the segmentation by person's story allowed us to ground the audience
Into what
who to
who to focus on and what to...
That was my entire grouse that night.
Damola stormed off. Zulu was
No, I
like,
fixed it for you.
Zulu was like in passing as she was leaving. So yes, why you? Because let me not lie, I didn't know who I was following.
Yeah.
And so then when Vicky and I and Nini went back to cut it, we were like, okay, how do we orient it? How do we? And then the other thing that helps is that my sister's song was not in the film at that point.
Wow.
So no, it's true now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because literally that song, like when the lights go out, literally set the way we edited the film.
Yeah.
Because we had because in our mind we felt like we had to make a film that was worthy of that song. Because the song was so good that we were like, yes, we had to. And it turned out pretty well. People are still proud of the fact that the setup exists. Whether or not they came to see it in cinema, which by now we are forgiving them. So
No, I mean, it's a wonderful, it's a very ambitious film, right?
Yeah.
It's not, I would say, it stands out in my mind. And again, I watch a lot of Nollywood, but I don't pretend to have watched every single movie, but it was, I said that it had an ambitious and a complex plot. And I like that. It was very, even I'm thinking of other movies, whether it's things like Inception or just other things in the US where you have this same, shifting of time, complex plot, it was very, I thought it was great.
yeah, thank you.
So I have a question. You watch 10, 15 movies a week. What would you like to see? Because I'm sure that's one question that everybody wants to know. Okay, so what would she like to see from a Nollywood movie? What kind of Nollywood movies work for you? Because I'm sure that's what everyone wants to know.
No, I would like to see just other, and again, it may be a reflection just like, because again, I haven't watched every single Nollywood movie, I'm not gonna pretend to, but I would love to see Nollywood continue to grow and lean into other types of like subgenres that I feel like I don't see a lot of. Whether that's things like crime, suspense, not thrillers, I'd like to see maybe different types of like action adventure movies, et cetera. So I feel like Nollywood like has clearly romantic comedies, dramedies, et cetera. I see a lot of that, but just continue to build off of it and lean into those other just types of genres or really subgenres that exist. I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity just to continue to build it, but do so without losing the authenticness of Nollywood and those underlying like Nollywood stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the challenge, right? Because how do you make a crime drama giving that Nigerians' exposure to police and experience of police is a certain way? So those are the kind of things that people are trying to think about. So the one that sticks in my head more than anything else is Aki Amotosho's Ghost and the House of Truth, where he basically took it from the point of view of an uncorruptible police officer who was literally a standout person in the department trying to find a missing girl. Yeah. So I guess figuring out those types of because it makes sense, like crime cells, like there are tons of like policeman against the world,
but it's weird, right? Because there's always a meme about Nollywood movies where the police only investigate in Nollywood movies, which is just like an indictment on the real police in Nigeria, right? So there's that sense of we have to kind of like find a way where what we want to stay true to what Nigerians know about the police, but you also want to be aspirational. You also want to make it look good. So it's kind of where it's an interesting dynamic when you think about it. But I like the idea of doing different subgenres. Where can we do suspense? Can we do I would say something like King of Boys is a different subgenre because it's crime. It's almost like Godfather-ish, right? Yeah. So that falls within that realm. Arbitration is a different genre altogether. Sorry, that's still drama, sorry.
But it's legal drama. Charge and bail is a legal romance. So what we do is that we take the regular genres that people know and then we try and layer something on top of it.
So I guess we can always do that. I'm sure there are ways that a lot of people can find to create more subgenres within it, but I also guess there's the commercial sense for most people. And that's the commercial decision, partly because cinema is your first go-to in this market, so that kind of like dictates what you create more or less.
But I mean, you guys, because you have a different vantage point than I do. But how do you do that, right? Like, I mean, I'm just curious. And I know I was asking earlier, like, where do your ideas come from? Because that's something that just fascinates me. Is it like, hey, we want to do this crime drama, but the commercial realities are that we don't pursue that project because of the commercial viability about it. But like, where do ideas or ideas for movies in different subgenres start for Inkblot? Like, how do you decide what to produce in a given year?
It's weird because the inspiration comes from anywhere, right? Because I remember there was this whole day where we went on some boat trip, went to like some beach house, and we're on the boat and we're having a conversation because we're seeing a lot of this villages that just right on the boat.
Very careful about the story about to tell.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
When this film is supposed to come out.
Wait,
but keep going.
Calm
but
down.
It's a good version.
But just like we're there, and that sparked like a story idea right there, and then we started having the conversation on the boat and all, and we're like, okay, fine. So it's something that we need to do, right? Now the question is when we get around to it, and all of those kind of things, but also. Like I said, stories can come from anywhere, right? And sometimes the simpler stories, like something like John Wick, for example, it's a very simple, straightforward story.
Wow.
How did we get here?
I'm just saying.
Even the cameramen are like doing their hands, like, oh my God, John Wick again.
No, but Damola, is this your favorite movie? I've heard that John Wick is your favorite, or the John Wick series is your favorite movie.
It's one of those things where it's a well-done...
It's a yes or no answer. You don't have to explain why John Wick is your favorite movie.
It is one of my favorite movies. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, but can we take a simple story, then what can you layer on top of it? And then what other fairy dust or spectacle can you put in there? Then in execution, what else? So it's one of those things where the ideas come from anywhere. Yeah. And it starts that way. And usually, I think amongst us, the snowball effect where you idea comes up and if it rolls down and doesn't gain traction, that goes
But in your
away.
case, so you're saying the ideas come from real life. So going back to, or is it really just a spark? It could just be another.
It's a spark sometimes it's real life, because some of our movies have been based on real life experiences amongst us in some way, shape, or form, and some other ones is just
So it's real life forms what I call the spark. So for example, Out of Luck is a good example. I came out of my office and I was walking to get food, and literally this was maybe 2009. So this was way before Inkblot, and well, I guess 2 years is not way before, but and then they were the the betting station people. At that time, they were everywhere. And I was like, this is a really cool idea. And then when we made Out of Luck, it started literally from a movie about a betting person, and then so that was the genesis was betting, but then it snowballed into what happens if a gangster places a bet, but he places the bet after the deadline, but the ticket wins, so the ticket doesn't count. So he then takes whatever to the boy. So and then who is this boy that bets? Okay, he's the boy. His girlfriend is the ex-girlfriend of the village guy. That's why he's out to get him. Why is he also special? He was his father. His brother is rich. He chose to be poor. So all those layers, so he's a person who I aspire to more in life, but he's been hurt before. So you just
keep layering it on.
Exactly.
And then you start to add in the commercial element as
so
well.
Then,
because you know it's going to cinema.
So once you know it's going to cinema, you then look at the story you're telling. Then you then start to look at your casting. So who's in it, right? Things like that, and then just start to work your way down the ladder of so who are we casting? Huge set pieces.
What the scale of the film.
What would
instead of situating this scene in a room and parlor.
More or less.
Why don't you put this in a restaurant?
Or put it in, why do you put it in a car or something?
But do you ever feel like you have to make compromises when you layer on the commercial aspects of it?
Of course.
Every time.
Well, I don't call them compromising because I think it's the way you approach it. So, for example, the best example is actually Charge and Bill, right? So, Charge and Bill, when one of the things that was missing was the authentic Nigerian part of it. So you can treat it as oh my God, we have to layer in the funny lawyers. Oh, woe is us, my dream is being killed of artistic glory.
Well, we did layer in the funny lawyers.
No, but my point is but you can layer it and basically say, how do these funny lawyers make the film better?
They make them integral.
So
it's not compromise.
Yes, it's not
sense.
compromise.
It's actually elevation.
Yes, exactly. And another example is Out of Luck. It's not Out of Luck, it's Up North. So when I wrote the draft of Up, I didn't want that running through running to get to the stadium at the last minute thing because I felt it was cliche. So
what we want
the director and the other our partner Edith came. They said, Naz, let's meet. So they literally dragged me and they sat and said, Naz, we need this scene. Naz, you must give us this scene. Naz, everybody came for this scene. You cannot deprive the audience of this scene. And I was like, but think about it. Every time you see a sports movie, this scene is there. Why do you want this scene?
They're called tropes for a reason. We like our tropes.
We don't have to rehash the argument. I know. I was there.
I'm just saying, in case you are ready.
So then I rewrote that bit to add that scene. And then I got even more carried away. And then we added when the announcer was speaking, all those vignettes of people watching it.
I love that though, the boys with the the radio.
Yes, exactly.
I thought that was a wonderful, authentic scene there.
It was authentic, yes. So I had to find a way into it that made sense for the story rather than, so basically it was the whole thing about the father and the mother deciding to go, and then the father actively taking steps, from the flat tire to hopping on the keke. So I had to find a way to make it part of the story that the father who was against the daughter running now was actively trying to make her get there. So it actually added a certain, so the trope has value, Damola, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I just had to, but it was just if I had taken the whole, oh no, because I was very worried about the whole, because that film, most people don't know this, because we didn't say it as well, because nobody asked us this question. It's actually weirdly designed a little bit like Lawrence of Arabia, in terms of basically a young, cocky person goes native. So roughly so one of the things that they did was like, we had so weird. That was actually the conversation that I had with the director a lot. Go and watch Lawrence of Arabia and see the transition. Because you wouldn't actually think that is this. But Lawrence of Arabia, with its big, like the immensity of it, was one of the things we were trying to capture with Up North. Like basically a man coming to a world that is much larger than him, and he finds himself in that world. So a lot of the spanning vistas and stuff feels an answer. So I was very against cliche in our attempt to do David Lean. But we found our way into that, and then it turned out really well. Editing actually had to go, because we didn't have time the first time to get a lot of those vignette footage.
The footage.
And the director so editing actually went back to Bauchi like a few months and shot all of those things. He almost died doing because he fell off a tree. Like one of those, you know where the people are in the swamp with the transistor radio. Yep. He climbed on a tree to take that shot, and the branch broke. And he literally missed hitting his head on an exposed stump.
Yeah,
and I was like, Edity, that scene was not that important. He was like, no.
No, it was though. I mean, it just made those little scenes, made the movie.
Yeah,
they add to it.
Yeah.
No, but
yes. Up North, Lawrence of Arabia. If you haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, go and watch Lawrence of Arabia. Thank me later. So yes. So the other place we get our inspiration is that we are voracious consumers of all sorts of content. One of the advantages of Nigeria is that we sit at a crossroads of different, like a potpourri of Nollywood, Bollywood,
K-dramas,
telenovelas. So we're
Japanese films as well.
So and then we have like the Hong Kong stuff. We have the K-drama stuff. We have Japanese anime. Then you've got like the Chinese martial arts stuff. So all of that. Watch all of that. Then that's from the East. Then you've got like your BBC stuff, your
the British
Canal Plus stuff.
Yes.
Then you've got like your Nollywood stuff that we do here. Then you've got like your American stuff, and then your Latin American stuff.
So we watch everything.
So we watch everything.
Yeah.
Do you feel like one of those? Because you're right. I think like Nigeria is remarkable because there are not many other parts of the world where you see like a healthy appetite for all of those different types of content, right? It really is fascinating. But do you feel like one of them more so than other influences Nollywood?
One more so. I would say Hollywood.
Hollywood does so.
Just because Hollywood is consumed more.
So Hollywood is consumed more, but I think that sensibilities were basically honed by a lot of the BBC stuff.
No, but I don't know that there is any. So like you look at different parts. So the big, loud, melodramatic drama stuff. A lot of that is Bollywood. Like literally, like especially the TV Bollywood comes a lot of, and also a lot of the.
Also our life.
No, I know. So that's why the TV Bollywood resonates with us. Like that's why Z World came here and blew up massively. But then also those telenovelas we watched growing up are also very similar. The Maria and all those people.
That's the telenovela.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So. I don't like, but then in terms of technique, Tarantino, there's a joke that Tarantino has more fans in Lagos than anywhere in the world. So like we're big.
That's the one I don't agree with.
No, a lot of directors are big.
Yeah, so it's the directors, it's the guys that really love film.
No, but
we're talking audiences.
they're
making the film.
So like every director has their Tarantino film in their pockets. They'll just bring out. Yeah, so like we have a lot of that, and so I don't know the answer to that's part of it. I don't know actually. Because I can look at a Nigerian film.
It will still be Hollywood because Disney started it up.
I don't know. It's when you have so many influences, it's kind of really hard to like pass out which one is the strongest. But yeah, Hollywood is the biggest, partly because of just the sheer scale of it. But if you check out various aspects of our stuff, you would find out that we pull some stuff from like K-drama, we pull some stuff from telenovelas in particular with the high emotional moments and sometimes the seemingly overacting. Yeah, we pull from that large expressiveness from what they call it, Bollywood, for example. We pull from that. So we're mismatched.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you look at the subculture, so if you look at, for example, Kannywood, which is the northern stuff, it's a lot of it is influenced by Bollywood. So so the influences are also a bit regional in their affect also.
Yeah.
But and because there's also a subculture that loves action. So if you look at in a lot of the earlier stuff from Asaba, there was a lot of action because they were also heavily influenced by the Hong Kong wuxia import. So like all those Nollywood, that is cinema Nollywood, tends to fit a little bit more like Hollywood. Which is understandable because when Nollywood in cinema first started, 95% of everybody was watching Hollywood. So basically, to shift taste, you had to be similar to Hollywood but different. So what people call New Nollywood. I hate that term, but that
Why do you hate that term?
because it implies that there's a break from. I think Nollywood is a continuum. Like that ideal,
just
that need to
evolving over time.
differentiate is annoying because there's no version of Nollywood in cinema without the original Nollywood. So trying to pretend that there's a separation, I just feel is random.
Yeah, but just called it the original Nollywood. So I guess it's for want of a word or a term, which is why people call it the new one because it's like a new.
But it's all Nollywood.
But it's I
think it's just different waves, right? So in some other environment where people decide to like study it a lot deeper, you would then have like, like in architecture, for example, or in design, they'll tell you that there's the Georgian era, Victorian era, this and that era. We've never bothered to break it down like that. So we just basically call Nollywood, New Nollywood. And
we call it military.
No. So you would take something like, 90s Nollywood, what was the major influence of 90s Nollywood? And you would basically tag that.
No, but if you call it,
But like 1990, so that's like living in bondage.
Yes. So if you call it the golden age of Nollywood, right?
Yeah.
So the new Nollywood implies a level of, there's a quality thing inherent that I don't like. Yes. So if you call it the golden age of Nollywood. But the need to almost, in order to say that we're the people
different and better and all of that.
Because the Nollywood that exists, like Nollywood went global 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So like for the idea that Nollywood is now emerging.
Just starting.
I feel that it's a very, it's odd basically to me because you can learn a lot about Nollywood today by watching the stuff that Nigerians loved 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago because people are people, right? And so yes, tastes evolve. But like you can't not watch you can't say look at the films I'm making and your influences are totally foreign. Like you have to understand what the Nigerians love growing up because I mean film school abroad, right? Or you learn what the old masters did as a way to build your taste, etc., etc. So the idea that your palette should not be expanded by watching old Nollywood or golden age Nollywood, I'm coining it, yes, golden age Nollywood, to me is odd, basically.
Why is Amazon in Nigeria?
Why is Amazon in Nigeria?
Yeah. Or why are you in Nigeria?
Amazon Prime.
Well, I mean, Amazon Prime Video has existed in Nigeria since 2016.
Yes.
Very tail end of 2016. And I mean, we have a wonderful service. We make our global originals, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Jack Ryan, The Boys, etc. Invincible. We make other, another broader suite of content, Bollywood content, etc. available. And, at this time, like we're just quite honestly building off of that foundation that we, began in 2016 to continue to improve our service, lean into, add additional types of content, locally relevant content, Nollywood content, other content from across sub-Saharan Africa, make it available to our customers in this region, and we're super excited for that. It's still, we all have this saying at Amazon, we say it's always day one, because we really try to maintain a startup sort of entrepreneurial mentality just as a company. And in some respects, with regards to what we are building, what we're building upon the foundation that exists in Nigeria today, it's still very much day one, but we're super excited for that.
Oh, nice.
Because there's this thing that we used to say, well, I guess people should say it, but that Nollywood is 5 years behind music. And so basically
Nigerian
music. Not music in, basically. So you see that 5 years ago, Nigerian music was starting to dominate in Nigeria.
Afrobeats.
Yes, exactly. And beginning to travel. So so Nollywood basically is it feels like it's at the cusp of that switch where the internationalization is. But I guess the question is, because we've always believed Nollywood has traveled, but it has traveled in communities of Nigerians, we're big in the Caribbean, we're big in certain parts of Europe, etc., etc.
Brazil.
And in Brazil, weirdly, that's still the one that I still don't quite understand.
They speak Yoruba there.
How many people speak Yoruba in Brazil?
I don't know, but they have babalawos in Brazil.
And you have Yemoja.
Yes. So there's some crossover. There's some crossover in terms of culture.
Wow.
That's all. Yes, we're reaching, but yes.
Yes. So basically, yeah. So the question, I guess, for you who sits on a slightly different level, what's your expectation of that? Because Afrobeats traveling that mainstream took us very by surprise because it was in those communities and then it broke out literally almost overnight. Yeah. So does that happen with other pieces of are there other subcultures like ours that happens in where all of it it goes out of the niche community and becomes mainstream? Like, how does that transition tend to occur in your experience? Jam question, I know.
Well, I want to make sure I understand. So you're asking, like, how does a true, or what would be the process for, like, a true, I would say, crossover?
Yes,
like
exactly.
Like a true Nollywood, like, global crossover.
Yeah.
I would say, like, a couple of things. I mean, I personally don't believe necessarily that everything has to be a crossover, right? Like, I think there's a real benefit, especially for, that is Nollywood content, locally relevant content, it could be Bollywood content or what have you. Not everything, I sometimes think where things go a little sideways, at least from a content creation standpoint, is when folks, strive so hard to have a film or series or what have you reach a quote unquote global audience, that it loses sort of the hyper local nature of it. I think effectively content that is really good premium content that is, I'll say, local in nature, in this case, like Nollywood. If it's very good, ultimately it will cross over. But sometimes I think folks try really hard to have that, to create almost artificially a crossover thing, and so you lose something because it doesn't quite. It loses the importance of the local relevance of that piece of content, and then it's a little different because it kind of has a more of a dilutive effect. So it's a long way of saying, I mean, I think of whether we're talking Nollywood or your question reminded me of things like in the US, like Selena and music, other types of music that hit some point in time where, again, it sort of transcended a popularity with a particular demographic group and then sort of hit mainstream. And I just think it's I think it's premium, hyper-local stories, and those stories will travel. And
hyper-local stories.
Yeah, I do. I think it's hyper-local. I mean, I think hyper-local premium stories, and I think they'll reach a point where they'll hit a tipping point and ultimately sort of cross over. Yeah. I mean, you guys, maybe the closest that comes to mind is The Wedding Party, right? So you guys, and even I would say that didn't even have tons. I would say that had broad diasporic appeal. Okay. You guys can tell me, did it really cross over? I mean, you guys had the vantage point of seeing it from the other end.
I think it almost did. So when we released Wedding Party 2, we released Wedding Party 2 in 20 European countries, and more people showed up than we thought. Because, so we did as an experiment just to see, and it wasn't just Nigerians and Nigerians in diaspora. So if we had a little bit more money, a bit more push, people would have, it felt that the Wedding Party could have made that, it could have been our dangal, that moment where people literally are willing to watch something in a culture that's very different
from theirs.
Yeah.
And it's not as a result of your possible Nigerian friend telling you to watch it. So, because using Dangal as an example, Naz was, I think, you're the one that Naz and Ni basically recommended and said, look, you need to watch this movie. And I don't know why I'm watching.
I was there.
Sorry.
I pushed it.
Yes, as well. Zulu as well. Yes. So the three of them basically told me to watch this movie. And this was a movie that was part 1, part 2. Each part was 3 hours.
No, that's
Bahubali.
Okay. Dangal was just 1 3.5 hour.
Yeah, there was one 3.5 hour movie. And I was like, yeah, but none of them are Indians, right? And I had to watch this movie with subtitles.
As you should.
So there's all of that. But then it's a scenario where I think the true crossover effect is when it's not your Nigerian friend telling you to watch a Nigerian movie, but some other person altogether who stumbled on the movie and absolutely loves it and is willing to then push it, which happened in the music industry.
Because we all knew the story of Essence this summer, but all of a sudden, on the global chart, I just kept seeing Love Wanting. I'm like, why are people listening to Love Wanting? And it just randomly blew up. Because a Nigerian song, because Essence, he has Thames, Wizkid, Justin Bieber hopped on it. So that was the ordained global smash. And then this song by CK from 2019 is hitting, and you're like, okay,
TikTok.
People are looking out for Nigerian songs and listening to them. It feels like a moment that is entering. And I don't know if I should say it's a good thing, right? Because it's going to change. Because you start mentally saying, I'm trying to make content to do that.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I was saying. You're trying to make content solely for this purpose of forcing a crossover.
Yeah.
And that's where I would just worry. Well, I would say that's where I would just worry a little bit. I think, again, I don't think, I think that feels to me this intrinsically sort of artificial.
Yeah.
But not to say that it can't be successful, depending on what we're talking about. But I still ultimately think good stories will travel. Good stories will find that audience. And it's not always necessarily about marketing. You're right, things will hit a tipping point, and I think you can do that and retain what I would qualify as like the authentic underlying sort of Nollywood sensibility to the content, and it will ultimately sort of push through.
I like how you phrased it, hyper-local stories. In the end, the films you're even talking about, the Bahubalis and the Dangals,
There were big hits in their local community.
Yes, authentically Indian
even
movies.
Parasite was a massive hit in
authentically
Korea.
Korean.
With subtitles, I mean, yeah.
So like we've talked a little bit about the specialization in terms of the subgenres and stuff. So what do you think are things that like we need to do better based on like just broad strokes, like in general?
I won't say, but I mean, I would say Inkblot should keep making wonderful movies, first and foremost. You guys will continue to do that. I mean, taking a step back, if you're asking me just generally about like, Nollywood and, just, I would say, I would reiterate the importance of the upfront development process, right? And I know it's not always possible. I know, different filmmakers have different resources, et cetera, but the upfront process, making time to like iterations, writing, more writing. So I think sometimes I worry that gets a little rushed. So I would say the biggest thing is actually probably spend more time on the upfront process. The development, to optimize, refine a script, et cetera, before one starts to execute against it. I think there's real opportunity there if resources allow for that. And I know they always don't. Yeah.
Writers are they're what they're waiting gold in Hollywood.
They're like unicorns.
Unicorns don't exist. So literally, let us, that's not
White rhinos.
So it's, and I think it's improving, I guess, because as there's more demand, because writing is very difficult, it's very time consuming, et cetera, et cetera. So the ability to have a job and do your life, but I think it's something that we actively are trying to figure out also on our side.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying, if resources allow. And I know they always don't, but I think that's probably like sort of most important, or one of the most important things. Yeah.
It's the foundation of it all.
Naturally, because there's more and more and more capital in Nigeria right now to make films, because it feels like it's that moment. But like, you can't buy your way to writing. Somebody has to learn the craft.
And just basically go through the act of writing.
Technicalities of writing.
And it also flows downstream, right? But if you tighten it up front, you're not doing as many reshoots, et cetera. So there is sort of a domino effect.
Oh no.
No. Reshoots always happen.
No, unless it's like something happens to your footage. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Unless your footage literally burns.
Yes. Yes. Or actually, but I mean, Up North is a bad example because we actually saw something missing, and luckily we had the ability to reshoot it.
No, that was a reshoot. That was
that's a reshoot. That's what technically a reshoot.
No, it was added scenes. It's not like we went and added scenes.
That's a garnish. Not like
it was a garnish.
Not like you had
It wasn't that we had shot something and then we said we need to reshoot the
and then let's
thing.
reshoot it. But I guess it also comes down to your budget and the resources that you have available. So there's also this question: do you write to your budget, or do you write and then find the budgets? Then do you?
So for us, it's been both.
It's both.
Yeah.
For us, it's been both because we've had stories from the past that we haven't produced because
there's just
this needs too much money.
It needs too much money.
And then there's the one, this is how much we have to spend, and
Then figure out.
It goes from a restaurant to a room and parlor.
Yeah.
You scale down very nicely.
Yeah, we don't have to go. Just talk. Just this emotion is the emotion. Just
instead of it being a car crash, it's now just a slap.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunate. I actually had this discussion and debate with someone yesterday. I think when the budget is constrained, writers will constrain their thoughts to fit that budget. So if you can, even if you have to, like, I'll say, optimize things and tweak them later, to at least start like with an uninhibited, like, or think mentally with like a bigger budget and not constrain the creative process up front, because there is a relationship between those two, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that one, where you tell someone there's a budget for this, and because of that, that just keeps hammering in the back of their head, and then you're not like, any idea, you're like,
anytime I see the waves and water and anything to do with water.
Zulu is like, no.
Can we take that out? Somewhere else? Because
Like in a bathtub or something?
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so like I try to do that sometimes, but I don't always succeed. So like I try and write the first draft purely with the writer's hat. So like the first pass is, I have $1 million per day to make this. And then as I do passes, I cut it down, I pull out this, oh no, we're not having a car crash on the Third Mainland Bridge. Those type of things. And then over time, but it also helps to know how to write to your budget also as a writer because partly because of you don't have the time. Sometimes you don't have time to do all those multiple drafts, etc., etc. But it's a work in progress. And our producer has flashed his sign at us 3 times. So we could keep talking all day.
Yes, we especially start talking. We've never been on time for any of our episodes.
Why are you pointing?
Why are you pointing?
Because he was about to say we're specialists at talking. It's 2 of you that are specialists at talking.
So what are you a specialist at?
I'm a specialist at listening.
Oh, really?
I listen, yeah.
You lie to yourself like that?
No, I listen, I observe, and then I let you know there's a pit. Don't fall in.
Congratulations, Pete watchers.
Thank you. Official listener of the Inkblot Club.
Yes, that's me.
All right. I will let you have the last one.
Yes, please.
Last word.
Yes.
Sign us out, because we're all terrible at this, so it can't be any
we are
worse.
terrible at signing people out. Yes.
Yes.
Technically, we have no skill at this job. I don't know why we're doing this. We know nothing.
Yes.
No. I mean, look, it's been my honor and pleasure. This is like my 15 minutes of fame. I mean, I am.
Fame to one person in America, which is you, and then 11 others in Nigeria.
Well,
Right after this,
11, including the 3 of you?
Right after this, she's going to go back and say, "Look, I was interviewed on this show. Look at all their other guests. I was on it." So she's a star. Yes.
If you say so.
Yes. So please. No, both of you didn't allow her to sign us out.
Okay.
Right.
Please sign us out.
And you said that you had a listening one.
I was listening, and so I had a comment.
How do I sign us out?
Anyhow you
Anything,
like.
watch Inkblot.
Watch us.
Watch
us.
Any
please.
Hope you
platform.
enjoyed it.
Platform.
Please sign up for Amazon.
I hope you enjoy this. Thank you for having me on Inkblot Meet and Greet. It has been my honor. And yeah, thank you.
Okay. Please sign up for Amazon Prime Video.
Yes.
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 That.
Thank you. Do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's available now in Nigeria since 2016.
You sound like Opi with Karo.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.